In this video, I'll share 5 decks that are really easy to play with and easy to get wins with in Pokemon Pocket. These decks are perfect for players who want faster games and a really high win rate, and they're also great for beginners if you're just getting into the game and you want to learn how to play. These are great starter decks. And by using these decks, you'll gain a lot of experience in the game, and eventually you can move on to some of the more complicated decks that are moving into the meta as the game evolves. So I'll show you the 5 decks. The third one happens to be my personal favorite. It's the one I've used the most to get the most wins playing Pokemon Pocket, but all of them are great, powerful decks that can be used against a variety of opponents. So the first deck is the Blaine and Rapidash and Ninetales deck along with new Magmar. This deck is one of the fastest to get online. The max energy you'll need to do your biggest attacks is 2 energy. It is a fire deck, so you will have problems going against water decks. However, I have beaten Articuno and other really powerful water decks with this fire deck just because it's so fast and really easy to use. So the idea here is really simple. It's just an attacking deck. You're coming out really fast, really strong. You don't even have potions to heal here because if one of your Pokemon goes down, you'll have another one on the bench ready to bring online. And none of your Pokemon are EX cards, so when one of them goes down, you're only giving up 1 point to your opponent. With Ponyta and Rapidash, you can use either the newer Rapidash, which takes 2 energy and has a coin flip to do a potential 100 damage, or you can use old Rapidash, which just takes 1 energy to do a guaranteed 40 damage. I like the newer Rapidash. It brings in that element of surprise. You're not really sure if you're going to get 100 damage or 40, but when you get 100, you can take down a lot of Pokemon. Ninetales is another great card. It has 90 HP. It takes 2 energy to attack for 90 damage. But you do have to discard one of your fire energy when you use this attack. That's usually okay because you can just pop it back on the following turn. And the star of the show here is Blaine. This card allows you to do 30 more damage with your Rapidash, your Ninetales, or your Magmar cards when they're in the active spot. So Rapidash can do a maximum of 130 damage, and if you happen to be going against a Leaf deck, 150 damage because they're weak to your Fire-type Pokemon. And then you have a Magmar in here as well, which also takes just 2 energy to do 80 damage. But with Blaine applied, you can take down Celebi in a single hit. You'll hit for exactly 130 damage. You also have 2 Professor's Research, 1 Giovanni in case you just need a little bit of extra power, 2 Pokeball, 2 X Speeds, and 2 Sabrinas, which can really come in handy to finish off your opponent. The next easy to use deck is Pikachu. I don't really love using this deck just because it's so overpowered. Everyone uses it and it pretty much takes down anything in its path. But if you're just starting out and you haven't given Pikachu EX a shot, it's definitely a deck worth playing around with. You'll get a lot of wins with it, that's for sure. So we got 2 Pikachus, 2 Zapdos EXs. You can also use a regular Zapdos, which I tend to go for just because I don't like to have that vulnerability of an EX card out there all the time. Then you have 2 Blitzels and 2 Zebstricas, and 1 Deden or Dedenne, which is a new card from Mythical Island, which does 10 damage, but you have a 50-50 shot of paralyzing your opponent. It can be a really powerful card early on or even later in the game, flipping a coin to paralyze your opponent and prevent them from attacking you when it matters most. Another thing I love about this deck is every single card has a 1 retreat cost. That's really, really low retreat cost. And combined with 2 X speeds, you can really move your Pokemon around as needed to attack with whoever you want. Then we have 1 Potion, 2 Pokeballs, 2 X speeds, 2 Professor's Research, 2 Giovannis, and 2 Sabrinas. Pretty straightforward when it comes to trainers here. You're really just getting that Pikachu online, filling up your bench with as many Pokemon as possible, and hitting for 90 really quickly. Deck number 3 is my favorite, and that's Starmie, Articuno, and Misty. I've used this since the beginning of the game, and I continue to use it now that Mythical Island has come out. I've changed it a little bit, as you can see, including 2 Leaf instead of X Speeds, but you can definitely use X Speeds or Leaf here. It really doesn't matter all that much. But this deck has 2 Staryu, 2 Starmie, 2 Articuno EX, 2 Misty, 2 Leaf, 2 Sabrinas, 2 Giovannis, 2 Professor's Research, 2 Pokeball, and 2 Potion. It's 2 of everything, really straightforward. And the idea here is coming online really fast, getting those energy onto your Pokemon as quickly as possible, using Misty, if you have it in your hand, to bring a lot of water energy onto your Articuno or your Starmie, whichever one is out there first. That's the one you want to Misty. If you happen to get Articuno and a Misty on turn 1, you could be attacking for 80 that very first turn, and basically that's game over. I've had some of my quickest wins with this deck for that very reason. Misty is just kind of broken if you get lucky with it. I think I've had a maximum of 8 heads in a row, so I have 8 energy on my Articuno EX. It's totally unnecessary, but sometimes it goes in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. The reason I run Leaf here is because Articuno takes 2 energy to retreat. Leaf basically makes that free. You can get Articuno out of there. If your Articuno is in trouble, you can get it out of the active spot for free, bring your Starmie up online and start attacking with that. But again, you could use X speed instead of Leaf here if you wanted to. If you didn't want to waste that use of a supporter card, that would totally work as well. Let me take 1 second to talk about Starmie. Starmie is probably my favorite card in the entire game right now. It's 2 energy to do 90 damage, but you have a 0 retreat cost, which is just so useful. You can pull that back totally free, get your Articuno, get your other Starmie in there, whatever you happen to have on your bench. It's so easy to get it online and do a ton of damage and get it out of there for free. I just love Starmie. Next up is Mewtwo EX, and this is another very meta deck. It's winning a ton of tournaments, and now with Mythical Island, people are playing a lot of Mew EX along with Mewtwo, and Mythical Slab, which is a new card from Mythical Island as well. But the principle of this deck has pretty much remained the same. Get Mewtwo out into the active spot, get your Gardevoir online as quickly as possible on the bench, and start feeding energy to that Mewtwo so you can use Side Drive over and over again, hitting your opponent for 150 damage turn after turn. So you have 2 Mewtwo's, you have a Mew EX Ralts line with Kirlia and Gardevoir, 2 Mythical Slabs, which basically kind of work like Pokeballs. You can look at the top card of your deck. If it is a Psychic type, you can put it into your hand. If it's not a Psychic Pokemon, it goes to the bottom of your deck. So it can be a little more risky to use Mythical Slab. If you happen to pull your Professor's Research up to the top, that goes to the bottom of the deck. That's really not a good thing. But you can also then use a Pokeball to reshuffle your deck if you happen to have a Pokeball in your hand. So you kind of have to be a little methodical about using Mythical Slab, but otherwise 2 X speeds, 2 Pokeballs, 2 Professor's Research, and then a Giovanni, Sabrina, and a Leaf here. You could definitely use 2 Giovanni or 2 Sabrinas here, or even 2 Leaf if you wanted to have more flexibility in any of those realms, but I like having a little more versatility in this deck. Now you may wonder why Mew EX is in this deck. Well, the reason is Mew can copy any attack that your opponent has on their active Pokemon. So if you're going against Charizard, you can use Crimson Storm for just 3 energy of any kind. In this case, you'll be using Psychic energy, but they don't have to be Fire energy. They can be whatever energy you have in your deck, and you only need 3 of them. Charizard needs 4 energy to use Crimson Storm, but Mew can use it for just 3, and you can hit that Charizard for 200 damage, knocking it out in one go. And the last easy to use, easy to win with deck is one of my recent favorites, Blastoise EX. I have an entire video about this deck and why it's so powerful, so fun to play with. I've been having a ton of fun with this, and I've had a ton of wins using this deck now. So you have the full Blastoise line with Squirtle, Wartortle, and Blastoise EX, along with 2 Druddigon, which are the star of the show here. You want to get your Druddigon out front and online in the active spot. Druddigon will take the hits for you with 100 HP, but it will also deal damage back with its ability, Rough Skin, 20 damage without applying any energy to your Druddigon. And during that time, of course, you're building up your Blastoise on the bench. And by the time you have 4 or 5 energy on your Blastoise, you can leaf out that Druddigon, bring Blastoise online, and start sweeping your opponents. I also have 2 potions, 2 Pokeballs, 2 Professor's Research, 2 Misty here, which are very important for getting a lot of energy onto your Blastoise, 2 Sabrinas, which definitely come in handy, and 2 Leaf to move your Pokemon out of the active spot for cheap. I love that Blastoise is now a pretty viable deck. It may not be meta just because Pikachu can still be a problem here for your water decks, but it's still a lot of fun to play with, and I get a ton of wins using this deck. I love those games that go by really quickly because your deck is just so fast, you overwhelm your opponent, and it's not all that complicated to play a game of Pokemon Pocket. If you have a deck that works this way, leave it in a comment below, especially if it's something a little bit odd. I love trying new decks that I haven't seen before. Thanks for watching Good Morning Gamer, and I'll see you soon.